Umar Lee here, and I got a very special passenger out of New York that has found his way into my taxi cab.
Assalamu Bismillah. You know, Umar, I often reflect upon the Muslims in America, and especially the Muslims in New York City. And the Muslims in New York City have a long tradition of, especially African Americans. You talking about Sheikh Dawood. I remember Rahimullah, he started um, Masjid on State Street. And people don't realize that in the beginning stage of State Street, basically that was African Americans. And before you know it, a lot of Arabs came and kind of the African Americans disappeared. And so you hardly ever find many African Americans in State Street. I'm going to jump forward a little bit and talk a little bit about Masjid at-Taqwa. We started Masjid at-Taqwa in 1978. I'm sorry, 1981. 78 I went to Mecca to study, but in 81. And it's interesting to note we had about 25 believers, 100% African Americans. So Allah blessed us in 1981. We bought the property from the city, which is the now present location of Masjid at-Taqwa, because we first started at a brother's apartment, Brother Salim Abdul Sabor. On Juma, we used to move the furniture from his living room and do the Juma right there.
Where was his place at?
It's on his place was in Brooklyn, maybe Crown Heights.
Off of Eastern Parkway in that area.
No, Hancock. Yeah. He was on Hancock. I can't remember the cross streets,
but you're presently on Fulton and Bedford, where you've been for a long time.
Now.
Yeah.
So we stayed there from July until December. We bought the property in December, moved to Masjid at-Taqwa, our present location. And remember, you're talking about 25 African Americans. When you look at our masjid now, we're not 100% of the Jamaat there. When I say we, I'm talking about African Americans. We might be 20 to 25%, maybe, even if it's that much.
And what was the percentage you say 10, 15 years ago of African Americans?
10 or 15 years ago, it started to decrease. Maybe, it started 100% African Americans. Now we've been there. This year mark our 30th year.
MashaAllah.
On December 17th, we have a 30-year anniversary at the biggest hotel in the whole Northeast, and that's the Hilton at Rockefeller Center. Almost 3,000 people. So, by the way, I'm gonna give you a plug. Some of the speakers who will be there that day, inshallah, is Imam. These are the confirmed speakers. Imam Hamza Yusuf, Imam Zaid Shakir, Abdullah Hakim Quick, Sherman Jackson, Professor Abdul Hakim Jackson, Suhaib Webb, Most Def, who comes to our masjid often, and a brother named Buna Muhammad.
Out of UK,
No, I think he's out of Canada.
Canada, okay, yeah.
Canada, right?
Yeah.
And a brother named Imam Abu Ayman, he's out of Dallas.
MashaAllah.
Beautiful brother. I mean,
heavy hitters coming in.
Really heavy hitters, right?
Yeah.
Celebrate with us, inshallah, and more others. Imam Qasim Ahmed from Imam Wafid Imam
That's right.
community.
Yeah.
Even have minister in the Nation of Islam, Minister Abdul Hafiz, whom I gave shahada to, while he was a minister in the Nation of
Very
Islam.
good.
Yeah. So he'll be over there also, right? So so that's 30 years. So as we moved away from that 1981, the demographics began to change. We by the way, we never recruited anyone. People just came. So before you know it, we had an influx of brothers from Africa.
This is starting in the 90s.
I would say probably early 90s. We started having other brothers from Bangladesh, Pakistan, Egypt. And now, as I said, now presently, probably the African Americans maybe 23%, 22%.
A big issue with the African American community in New York in general, Muslim or non-Muslim, is the issue of the high cost of living, of gentrification, and a lot of them making reverse migration back down south to the Carolinas, to Georgia.
Yeah.
And this affects the Muslims as well.
It does. By the way, it's interesting to note, like when you go to Atlanta, Georgia now, it seems that there are more people who who migrated to Atlanta. That's not the original people from Atlanta. So when you go there,
the Black Mecca.
Black Mecca, there you go. You see all kind of people from, you ask person, where are you from? And invariably they're from the north. which is strange.
Mm.
But you do see a displacement of a lot of people from their homes. You see a lot of white people moving into the neighborhoods now. It's like
And this is a more affluent crowd.
it's a more affluent crowd. What was that? A lot of them, used to they bought their homes in Long Island,
That's right.
but they're coming back.
Coming
So it didn't make sense. They wanted to come back to New York and ride the trains and be
Urban
close to their
lifestyle.
job, yeah, exact urban lifestyle.
And do you think affordable housing is a serious issue in New York City?
Affordable housing is a very serious issue in New York City, and this is why at some point, you rightly talked about building institutions. And one of the things we want to do, we want to actually start building affordable homes. This is something that we have to work on. And I would not surrender to interest. So whatever we're gonna do, we're gonna have to do without these traditional mortgages. We got to do it and find a way. And Muslims have an abundance of money in the banks that they can't get interest from anywhere. So we have to find a way where we can get some of this income and build affordable homes. I think it's a major issue. I think Muslims ought to do it. A lot of Christians are doing it. Of course, they're doing it with interest and getting loans from the banks. But we have to find a way to get some influx of money so that we can build these affordable homes. Because right now, if we don't, there won't be no black folks left.
Because when you talk about Brooklyn has given so much to the American Muslim community. It's when you talk about the African American Muslim experience, the Sunnah, the practice of the Sunnah really started in Brooklyn in a major way and spread to the rest of the country. And you're talking about Fulton and Bedford, Masjid at-Taqwa, and Fulton Street, or you're talking about Atlantic Avenue in downtown Brooklyn. These are really historical places for the Americans. And Yasin Masjid, with the old Dar al-Islam movement.
Yeah. Exactly.
And Imam Jamil was in there, and with MOA, etc. They have given a lot to the history of Islam in America. So we should try to preserve this history.
We should.
And I was talking to a sister on Atlantic Avenue. She said when the lease is up, they told me they're not going to renew my lease. They're trying to.
The problem that we have in many ways, one of the landmarks among Muslims, in my opinion, was at Souk Bookstore. You familiar with Souk Bookstore?
No.
Man, Souk Bookstore used to be the bookstore.
Where was it at?
Brother named Musa on Smith, off of Atlantic Avenue.
Okay.
I used to go there every week. My thing is like, show me the bookstore.
Right.
Library, bookstore, masjid. Library. And all my money is spent on books. If you come to my house, it's a library. It's a library. I can't find enough shelves in my house to put
hold the books.
Yep, serious. Yeah. So I got a lot of them in my office, a lot of them, in my living room, some in the basement, because that's my love. My passion is reading. I remember when I went to Australia. You ever been to Australia?
No, I have not.
You go to Australia, you're like 23 hours in the air. Because you're on the other side of the world, right?
Got to find something to do.
Right, yeah. And I remember when I went there, man, and I took my wife with me, I had about 5, 6, or 7 books open at the same time.
Wow.
Everybody on the plane was sleeping but me. And I was like, why don't, because I used to love long plane rides, but I couldn't catch up on reading.
To read,
right?
yeah.
So anyway, there was a bookstore called a Souk Bookstore. An African American brother named Musa, and a fixture. Everybody knew about that bookstore. And next thing you know, Musa not there no more. What happened? Like everywhere else, man, the landlord double, triple the rent. People can't afford it, so they had to move. And he finally closed that down and moved into another place. And I think maybe even that place is closed down. So a lot of brothers who were in, these stores, under these landlords, most of them gone now. That's why we encourage brothers. You got to buy the building.
And what's the issue with the Adhan? There's been some media coverage about that. Has that been reconciled?
It's not a major problem. For years, some of the neighbors would tell us that, they knew exactly what time it was by the calling of the Adhan of the Muslims. And by the way, just for the record, you can't let everybody call the Adhan. One day I was coming to the masjid, I walked to the masjid, and I heard a brother calling the Adhan. I ran there and said, "Get that brother off that mic."
Yeah, but that's what you say if you heard me calling the Adhan.
Yeah. When you hear the nice melodious call,
mashallah.